Home appraisal versus home inspection. What are the differences? What are the similarities? And more importantly, which one should you do first? Or it could really cost you. Well, that's what we're discussing next. Come on. Hi, my name is Peggy Durstoff and welcome back to my channel. I'm a realtor with HomeSmart here in the Denver metro area of Colorado, and I specialize in suburban living. You know, when you go to purchase a property, a home or an investment property, part of the process will most likely include an appraisal and a home inspection. Now, a lot of times, especially first-time home buyers, think that these two they're the same thing. The reality is, both the home appraisal and the home inspection are two very different and important parts of the home buying process. They share some similarities, but there's also some very important differences. Now, what is a real estate appraisal? In simple terms, a real estate appraisal is the lender sending out an appraiser to give the home a value. In other words, it's assessing the home's value, but it looks at several things in order to come up with that valuation or that number. So it looks at the overall condition, the number of bedrooms, the number of bathrooms, and any upgrades that have been completed. The appraiser also looks at the size and the functionality of the land or the lot which the home sits on. And then the appraiser will also look at some other aspects of the home, such as location, walkability score to things like parks, schools, transportation, shopping. And most importantly, the appraiser will look at other properties that are very similar to the property he's putting a value on. So if it's a two-story, he's going to look at other two stories in the same neighborhood, built around the same time, hopefully with the same amenities and the same and similar upgrades. And he's looking at those properties that have sold recently. He won't use what's listed or available for sale, but only the sold and closed properties. And he will come up with what's considered fair market value. Now, the main purpose of an appraisal is to ensure that the lender isn't loaning more money to the buyer than what the home is really worth. Just in case, down the road, the buyer defaults on the loan he's getting, the lender wants to make sure they can turn around and put that property on the market and sell it for the money that they're owed. Now, in today's market, with low inventory and a lot of competition, we have buyers that are offering over asking price or over the list price. And if the appraisal comes in, let's say just for giggles at a list price of $500,000, but the buyer has offered $510,000, the buyer has options. First one would be to go to the seller and see if a seller would lower the price to be more in line with the appraisal. The second one, which we're seeing quite a bit of in today's market, is the buyer can bring in the difference as cash to closing or adjust their down payment monies to cover the gap, what we call an appraisal gap, between what the appraiser has as a valuation and what the contract price is with the seller. Lastly, if that's not possible, the buyer has a right to terminate because the lender is never going to give them more money than what they feel the home is worth. Now, what is a real estate inspection? Well, a real estate inspection also takes an unbiased view of the home, but now the home inspector is looking at the condition of the home. They're going to look at the electrical systems, the HVAC systems, the roof, the foundation. They're going to look at things that might not be evident during your walkthrough with your agent. So they're going to make sure that the appliances are in working condition, such as the dishwasher, refrigerator, microwave, stove, and oven. The point of the inspection is to educate the buyer about the home and all of its inclusions that they'll be taking on, the condition of them. Are they older? Should they be looking to replace them, down the road? Are they working now, or are they not working? Once the buyer gets the home inspection report, again, they have options. The biggest one, of course, is if the buyer finds something that they can't live with, they have the right to terminate at inspection because they found something they can't live with. But a better scenario is they have the option to talk with the seller and ask the seller to fix something that's broken or replace something that isn't functioning at all. And all of this is done during your inspection period, which is usually the first 10 days after you go under contract. Now, there's a lot of similarities between home appraisals and home inspections, so it's easy to see why these two get confused. Both have a professional conducting a physical assessment of the property, because the appraisers do go out to the property, just like the home inspectors do, and they go inside and outside, just like home inspectors do. Both typically occur shortly after you've gone under contract. Both are meant to protect the buyer, not the seller, and the buyer generally pays for both of them. So you would pay for the appraisal and you would pay for the home inspection. And both the home inspection and the appraisal reports then belong to the buyer. The seller doesn't get either of those reports unless you, the buyer, choose to share it with them. Now, although they're similar in a lot of the ways we just mentioned, there's some very strong differences between the two. For one thing, the scope of both inspections is very different. The appraiser takes the property's condition into account, but they also look at the location of the home, the characteristics of the lot it's built on, and the overall real estate in the area. The appraiser just wants to get a general feel. Does everything look okay? When was the last upgrade or remodel done? But they also keep an eye for any noticeable deferred maintenance. So is there a hole in the wall? Is a window broken? That could detract from the value. Home inspection is a lot more thorough than a home appraisal is. They're looking at the foundation. They're looking under the roof in the attic. They're looking at the roof. They're looking at all the appliances and whether or not they're functioning correctly. They're looking at the plumbing, the electrical. They're testing every outlet. So it's a deep dive into the home that you're thinking about buying and everything that's in that home. An appraiser's time at the property is fairly short, maybe 20 minutes to an hour max, whereas a home inspector will stay at the home for several hours. Now, the most important difference is, of course, the outcome of these inspections. An appraisal is really looking at the value of the home, and an inspector is looking at the condition of the home. And the appraisal is useful to the home buyer, but it's mainly used by the lender to make sure it fits into their underwriting guidelines and that the money they're going to loan the buyer to buy the home isn't in excess of what the home is really valued at. On the other hand, the home inspection can be used by the buyer to renegotiate if they find that things need to be repaired or replaced by the seller. And it also educates the buyer as to what they're facing as a homeowner. And you get to make the decision as the home buyer, am I okay with this? Am I okay with this home and the condition that it's in and the condition of all the inclusions that are included in the sale of the home? So just to clarify, when you go to buy a home, whether it be your primary residence, a second home, or even an investment property, you're probably going to want to do an appraisal and a home inspection. And these are both valuable ways to protect you and allow you to know what you're getting into as a homeowner. And in case it wasn't evident from my video, you would want to do your home inspection first, just in case you find something you can't live with. You can get out of it, then you don't have to pay for an appraisal because you won't be doing one. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and also consider subscribing. And if you'd like, go ahead and pick up a free copy of the home buying guide, which is down below in the description box. In the meantime, have a great day, and I'll look forward to seeing you next week.